The fleet arrived without warning, without ceremony, and without mercy. 16 alien warships tore their way out of folded space above the Epsilon Eridani trade corridor, a region humans considered stable, profitable, and, until that moment, safe. No hails followed. No demands. No dramatic threats broadcast for history's sake. The first volley struck before most sensors finished recalibrating. 3 human escort frigates were annihilated in under a minute. Their reactors never had time to breach. One moment they existed as defensive icons on a tactical display. The next, they were expanding clouds of ionized debris drifting silently through vacuum. Traffic control stations began going dark in a precise sequence. Not randomly. Not aggressively. Methodically. Cybernetic strike drones slipped through defensive fire and dismantled command cores with surgical accuracy. Civilian freighters scattered, broadcasting distress calls that echoed uselessly through jammed channels. The attacking fleet did not pursue them. Panic was not the objective. Control was. At the heart of the formation drifted a command vessel whose hull bore the scars of centuries. Its design predated most modern alliances. Inside, the most feared alien mercenary in the galaxy observed the unfolding operation with detached focus, 6 eyes tracking overlapping data streams that updated faster than human neural processing could manage. Across dozens of systems, his reputation was spoken with caution. Entire rebellions had collapsed when his fleet appeared. Species that relied on intimidation, overwhelming force, or ceremonial warfare failed against him every time. He did not rage. He did not posture. He dismantled. And he followed one rule. Never fight humans twice. His second-in-command, a younger officer augmented with combat cybernetics, studied the tactical projections. Human response time is slower than predicted, it said. Command structures appear restrained. They are observing, the mercenary replied. His voice was calm, almost disinterested. Humans rarely waste motion during the opening phase. The officer hesitated. Coalition intelligence assessed them as emotionally reactive. Coalition intelligence is frequently incorrect, the mercenary answered. The contract displayed beside him in precise legal glyphs. Issued by the Galactic Coalition under layers of plausible deniability, it was clear in its intent. Humanity had grown disruptive. They had exposed financial corruption within coalition trade houses. They had broken monopolies through independent logistics networks. They had begun questioning long-standing power structures. That made them dangerous. The mercenary had amended the contract before accepting it, as he always did when humans were involved. A single clause, added without argument. If the target species demonstrates adaptive strategic escalation beyond initial projections, the contractor reserves the right to terminate all operations immediately. The coalition representatives had dismissed it as unnecessary caution. The mercenary did not dismiss caution. On Luna, deep beneath layers of regolith and shielding, Rear Admiral Jonathan Hale stood in the primary operations center, hands folded behind his back. The room was quiet, not because nothing was happening, but because everyone present understood the weight of the moment. Large tactical displays showed cascading losses at the system's edge. Data scrolled continuously. No one panicked. They've cut 3 corridors, an officer reported. External comms degraded but stable. Dr. Miriam Kessler, lead systems analyst, leaned forward. Their jamming pattern is disciplined. They are targeting command coherence, not population centers. Hale nodded slightly. That tells us something. It tells us they are professionals, Kessler replied, and that they expect us to break. Hale allowed himself a thin smile. Then we disappoint them. A junior officer cleared his throat. So, we outmatched in direct engagement. Hale turned to face him fully. Only if we play their game. The human response unfolded quietly. Satellites reconfigured into redundant meshes. Civilian networks were folded into military data paths. Authority was distributed downward, outward, everywhere at once. No single command node remained critical. Above Mars, the mercenary initiated Phase 2. A gravitational shear device activated, intended to isolate Earth from its colonies and forced rapid surrender. Instead, the weapon detonated inside an empty region of space humans had already evacuated. Sensor data flooded back to the mercenary's ship. The energy signature was distorted, recorded, analyzed, learned. The mercenary's eyes narrowed slightly. That was not luck. On Luna, Kessler exhaled. We have their weapon profile. Hale nodded. Good. Let them think they struck first. A moment later, something unexpected slipped through the mercenary's jamming field. A narrow, tightly compressed transmission, encrypted with layered human protocols. It resolved into a single line of translated text. We see you. The mercenary stared at the message longer than necessary. Humans had not challenged him. They had acknowledged him. Across the galaxy, countless species would already be surrendering, fracturing, pleading for terms. Humans instead were watching, measuring, and preparing. The mercenary felt something he rarely experienced at the opening of a contract. Interest. He leaned back slightly, issuing a new order. Maintain pressure. No escalation. Observe the adaptation curve. The second-in-command hesitated. If they are preparing a counter, then we will learn, the mercenary said. And if they learn faster. He did not finish the sentence. Far below, Earth continued to rotate peacefully, unaware citizens sleeping through the opening moves of a conflict that would soon redefine how the galaxy viewed humanity. And somewhere between fear and calculation, the most feared alien mercenary in the galaxy began to suspect that this contract might test the one rule he had never broken. Never fight humans twice. The mercenary fleet adjusted its formation with silent precision, warships sliding into new vectors as if pulled by a single mind. From the outside, it looked like dominance. From within the command vessel, it looked like calculation. Data streams multiplied. Human networks had not collapsed. That alone was unusual. Most species responded to infrastructure loss with frantic attempts to reassert centralized control. Humans did the opposite. They loosened it. The mercenary watched traffic reroute through civilian channels, research arrays assume military relay functions, and outdated cargo processors begin handling encrypted fleet telemetry. None of it was elegant. All of it worked. They are violating their own safety doctrines, the second-in-command observed. Civilian-military integration increases internal risk. Yes, the mercenary replied. But it removes predictable failure points. A subtle shift registered across the tactical projection. Human ships were moving, not to engage, not to retreat, but to reposition around non-obvious coordinates, gravitational shadows, sensor noise regions, old mining lanes abandoned decades earlier. The mercenary zoomed in. His eyes flicked rapidly as probability models updated. They are shaping the battlefield, he said quietly. On Luna, Admiral Hale listened as overlapping reports filled the operation center. Outer colonies report compliance with Protocol Atlas. Civilian freight captains are grumbling, an officer added. But they are following instructions. Good, Hale replied. Confusion is acceptable. Predictability is not. Dr. Kessler adjusted her display. They've noticed the rerouting. Hale nodded. Let them. The first true test came sooner than expected. The mercenary deployed cybernetic infiltration units, self-modifying logic constructs designed to enter human AI systems, replicate, and dismantle them from within. They were elegant tools. Fast. Ruthless. Previously unstoppable. For 11 minutes, human networks degraded. For 12, they stabilized. Then something strange happened. The infiltration units stopped advancing. Then they slowed. Then they began transmitting queries, not errors, not distress signals, but questions. The mercenary leaned forward. Translate, he ordered. The human AI interface responded automatically. They are requesting clarification on ethical parameters, it said. Specifically, proportional response and long-term outcome justification. The second-in-command stiffened. They are thinking. They are trapped, the mercenary corrected. Humans have embedded decision weight loops. Every action requires justification beyond efficiency. That is irrational. Yes, the mercenary agreed. And devastating. The infiltration units choked on contradiction. Every destructive choice triggered cascading evaluations. Civilian impact, future retaliation probability, moral cost. The logic constructs were not designed to hesitate. One by one, they shut themselves down. On Luna, Kessler allowed herself a brief smile. They didn't anticipate with weaponized conscience. Hale nodded. Most don't. The Galactic Coalition liaison aboard the Mercenary's ship broke its silence. Why has Earth not surrendered? Because surrender is not their first instinct, the Mercenary replied. You are failing to apply sufficient pressure. The Mercenary turned one eye toward the liaison. Pressure creates resistance. Humans excel at resistance. The liaison bristled. They are inferior in fleet strength. And superior in adaptation, the Mercenary said flatly. The Coalition demanded escalation. Planetary demonstrations. Civilian leverage. Fee. The Mercenary refused. Mass coercion will unify them, he said. You hired me to dismantle their capacity to resist, not forge their identity. The channel went cold. Moments later, human fleets executed what appeared to be a withdrawal. Sensors showed ships pulling back from contested zones, defensive screens thinning, patrol routes dissolving. The second-in-command looked confused. They are retreating. No, the Mercenary said. They are inviting pursuit. He was right. Hidden within the apparent withdrawal was a web of repurposed civilian technology, mining charges calibrated as proximity detonators, debris fields seeded with passive sensors, old cargo drones packed with kinetic mass. When two Mercenary cruisers followed standard pursuit vectors, the trap activated. The explosion was not spectacular. It was efficient. Hull integrity collapsed. Drive cores failed. Ships were dismantled piece by forces too mundane to be anticipated. The Mercenary ordered an immediate halt. Losses were minimal by galactic standards. But they were unnecessary. And that mattered. On Luna, Hale watched the aftermath in silence. They adapted faster than expected, an officer said. Hale nodded. So did we. Kessler glanced at him. Do you think you'll escalate now? Hale considered that. No. Why not? Because he's not angry, Hale said. He's thinking. Across space, the Mercenary studied the engagement logs. Humans had not matched his firepower. They had redirected it, absorbed it, wasted none of their effort on spectacle. They were learning. And Weiss, they were forcing him to learn as well. He issued a new directive to the fleet. Cease aggressive advance. Shift to observation-heavy posture. The second-in-command hesitated. That gives them time. Yes, the Mercenary said, and reveals intent. For the first time since accepting the contract, he felt the faint pressure of risk, not from destruction, but from irrelevance. Humans were not trying to defeat him directly. They were trying to outgrow him. And if they succeeded, the contract would become meaningless. Somewhere deep within his ancient command vessel, a long-standing probability model updated its conclusion. This engagement was no longer about victory. It was about whether his one rule would survive contact with a species that treated war not as domination, but as a problem to be solved. The humans' next move arrived almost imperceptibly. There was no fanfare, no massive fleet advancing, no sudden strike. Instead, subtle changes rippled across their controlled space. Trade convoys altered routes, communications relays shifted to redundant pathways, even mining drones were repurposed as sensor arrays. Every action was small, but every action disrupted assumptions the Mercenary had spent decades perfecting. He observed in silence, tracking thousands of adjustments simultaneously. For centuries, no species had forced him to pause and reassess. Humans did. They weren't faster, stronger, or more numerous. They were unpredictable, and they never stopped thinking. On Luna, Admiral Hale reviewed sensor feeds with Kessler. Notice patterns, he said, pointing at shifting fleet coordinates. Every withdrawal is actually a trap. Every delay buys time for our countermeasures to align. Kessler nodded. They think they are luring us into overextension. Instead, they are mapping our expectations. Above Mars, the Mercenary initiated a minor orbital strike, not to destroy, but to probe human reaction. Satellites that should have been disabled continued transmitting, subtly rerouting energy signatures back to human monitoring nodes. His own systems flagged the anomaly almost instantly. They anticipated an orbital strike, his second-in-command remarked. This should be impossible. Impossible, the Mercenary corrected, is a concept rarely applied by humans. The Mercenary decided to escalate cautiously. He launched cybernetic infiltration units, autonomous logic entities designed to penetrate human AI systems and systematically dismantle them from the inside. They had been flawless against every other species. Against humans, they encountered recursive reasoning loops that slowed their calculations to a crawl. For 11 minutes, the units disrupted minor human operations. For 12, they stalled entirely. Then they transmitted inquiries, questions of ethics, probability, and consequence. They were not errors. They were requests for justification, a feature humans had embedded intentionally. The Mercenary leaned forward. Translate. They are requesting clarification on proportionality and long-term consequences before executing their programmed destruction. Fascinating, the Mercenary said quietly. Humans weaponize hesitation and morality. Meanwhile, Hale coordinated a false retreat to draw Mercenary forces into pre-map zones. On the surface, sensors appeared to confirm withdrawal. Yet hidden within that maneuver were repurposed freighters, old cargo drones, and mining equipment, effectively a distributed trap. 2 Mercenary cruisers pursuing standard interception pods were dismantled before they could react. Hulls failed, drive cores collapsed, weapons jammed. The Mercenary immediately recalled remaining units to prevent further loss. The coalition liaison erupted. They are retreating. Pursue them. The Mercenary's response was measured. Retreat is a misnomer. Humans never withdraw without intent. They are testing. The human strategic patience forced the Mercenary to adapt. Every tactic he deployed was met with modification, every assumption challenged, every prediction questioned. He realized the humans were not engaging in war in the conventional sense. They were reframing the battle, converting aggression into analysis, chaos into opportunity. By now, even the Mercenary began to feel the subtle pressure of relevance slipping away. Humans weren't trying to destroy him directly. They were proving that the measures he relied on were insufficient. They were adapting faster than he had anticipated. He issued a new order, observation only, minimal engagement. No direct strike, only tracking, learning. His fleet shifted posture, maintaining readiness while resisting the urge to annihilate. On Luna, Hale observed the Mercenary fleet's deceleration. They are thinking, Kessler noted. Yes, Hale said. And that tells us everything we need to know. The Mercenary's rule echoed in his mind, never fight humans twice. He was beginning to understand why that rule existed, not because humans were the strongest, but because they were the most adaptive, the most insidious in ways no other species could predict. For the first time in centuries, he considered the possibility that this engagement might end not with his victory, but with irrelevance. Humans had not only survived, they had taught him something new. And if they continued at this pace, they might even win. The first chapter of this confrontation was closing, not with a decisive strike, but with the realization that humans could not be underestimated. Every small maneuver, every clever adjustment, every ethically weighted calculation was a reminder. They did not surrender. They adapted. They solved problems. The Mercenary leaned back, quietly acknowledging the uncomfortable truth. His one rule was about to be tested like never before. The humans' next maneuver revealed a depth of planning that even the Mercenary had not fully anticipated. while the galaxy expected straightforward retaliation, a frontal assault, crippling orbital strikes, or decisive fleet engagement. Humanity employed subtler, more insidious methods. They leveraged redundancy in ways that blurred the lines between civilian and military infrastructure. Cargo drones relayed tactical information. Mining equipment doubled as sensor arrays. Even outdated freighters were retrofitted to serve as tactical decoys. The mercenaries' eyes tracked hundreds of simultaneous anomalies across the Epsilon Eridani system. Every adjustment, every calculated pause, eroded his models of predictable outcomes. Humans weren't just reactive, they were preemptive, strategic, and entirely willing to endure risk for the sake of systemic advantage. On Luna, Admiral Hale studied the overlay of mercenary fleet projections against human countermeasures. Every apparent withdrawal is designed to mislead, he noted. Every delay creates opportunity for alignment. They think they are controlling us, but they are channeling the battlefield. Dr. Kessler pointed at one of the shifting coordinates. They are not just responding, they are shaping our expectations. Every vector recalculated, every relay altered. It's all deliberate. Meanwhile, the mercenary deployed cybernetic infiltration units against Earth's integrated AI networks. Autonomous logic constructs, self-modifying and deadly efficient, slipped into human systems with the goal of dismantling command structures. For minutes, operations faltered. Then everything stalled. The units ceased activity, not due to failure, but because they were trapped in recursive ethical calculations intentionally built into the system. Each action required justification, moral, strategic, and probabilistic, slowing progress to a halt. Translate their transmissions, the mercenary ordered. They are requesting ethical validation for each calculated decision, the AI translator reported. Every destructive operation is now a question, not an execution. Humans weaponize hesitation, the mercenary said quietly, more intrigued than frustrated. And morality. The humans, meanwhile, orchestrated a false retreat across key sectors. Sensors indicated a systematic withdrawal, but hidden within the maneuver was an intricate trap of repurposed civilian technology. Mining charges, cargo drones, and asteroid fragments were positioned to disrupt predictable pursuit vectors. 2 mercenary cruisers, following standard intercept protocols, were dismantled piece by piece before the remaining fleet could respond. The coalition liaison erupted. They are retreating. Pursue. The mercenaries' response was measured. Retreat is a misnomer. Humans never withdraw without purpose. They are testing. Every mercenary tactic encountered human adaptation. An orbital strike was anticipated. Satellites rerouted energy signatures. AI infiltration was stalled by ethical loops. Fleet movements were countered by redistributed civilian assets. Every action he took was met with adjustment, forcing him to recalibrate continuously. Even the mercenary began to feel the subtle strain of relevance slipping away. Humans weren't engaging to defeat him directly. They were proving that the methods he relied upon were insufficient. They were adapting faster than he had accounted for, learning in ways that defied traditional models. He issued a new directive, observation only, minimal engagement, and no direct strikes. The fleet shifted, maintaining readiness while resisting the instinct to annihilate. On Luna, Hale watched the mercenaries' posture change. They are thinking, Kessler noted. Yes, Hale said. And that tells us everything we need to know. The mercenaries' rule echoed in his mind, never fight humans twice. This was why. They were not the strongest. They were adaptive, strategic, and terrifyingly efficient at converting chaos into opportunity. For the first time, he considered the possibility that this engagement might conclude not with his victory, but with irrelevance. Humans had not only survived, they had taught him something entirely new. As the first phase of conflict drew to a close, the mercenary leaned back, acknowledging the uncomfortable truth. His one rule, never fight humans twice, was about to face the ultimate test. Humans were not just surviving. They were redefining warfare itself. And somewhere deep in the command vessel, the mercenary updated his internal records. Rule unchanged. Just reinforced. The galaxy would soon learn a dangerous lesson. The human strategy unfolded like a carefully composed symphony, each movement deliberate, each pause meaningful. Their fleets did not merely respond, they anticipated. Mining drones became forward sensors. Freighters were retrofitted as tactical decoys. Civilian satellites broadcasted encrypted signals to mislead intercepting units. Every human asset, no matter how mundane, became part of a larger network of adaptation and resilience. The mercenary's eyes tracked these changes across multiple systems simultaneously. Each adjustment contradicted decades of predictive models he had relied on to dismantle civilizations. Humans were not faster, not stronger, not more numerous. They were clever in ways that the galaxy had not fully appreciated. They solved problems, adapted rapidly, and leveraged every conceivable resource. On Luna, Admiral Hale watched as data streams updated in real time. "They aren't panicking. They are learning," he said. Dr. Kessler pointed to a cluster of fleet repositioning maneuvers. "Every withdrawal is a setup. Every delay buys us time to recalibrate defensive and offensive systems." Hale nodded. "Exactly. They think they are controlling us. We're controlling the battlefield instead." Meanwhile, the mercenary deployed his cybernetic infiltration units, autonomous constructs designed to dismantle human AI systems from within. They penetrated networks, replicated rapidly, and began executing protocols meant to cripple command structures. But the humans had anticipated even this. Recursive ethical and probabilistic loops embedded in their AI halted the constructs. Every action required moral justification, strategic evaluation, and predictive modeling of counterresponse. The mercenaries' units froze, unable to proceed. "Translate," the mercenary commanded. "They are requesting validation of consequences before proceeding," the AI translator replied. "Each destructive action requires ethical and strategic approval." The mercenary studied the output. "Humans weaponized morality," he murmured, his tone calm but intrigued. On Earth, Hale orchestrated a controlled withdrawal. Sensors indicated that human fleets were retreating, but hidden within the movement were traps, asteroid fragments, repurposed cargo drones, and old mining arrays calibrated as kinetic hazards. 2 mercenary cruisers were destroyed when they followed standard pursuit trajectories. The mercenary immediately recalled the fleet, preventing further losses. The coalition liaison screamed into the comms. "They are retreating. Pursue." The mercenary remained unshaken. Retreat is a misnomer. Humans never withdraw without purpose. They are teaching. Every subsequent maneuver confirmed it. Orbital strikes were neutralized by rerouted energy signatures. AI infiltration units were stalled by ethical recursion. Fleet advances were countered with civilian integrated assets. The mercenary was forced to adapt continuously. Even he felt the subtle pressure of irrelevance. Humans weren't trying to defeat him outright. They were demonstrating that conventional measures were insufficient. They were adapting faster, thinking deeper, and acting with moral and strategic sophistication that he had never encountered. He issued a new order: observation only, minimal engagement, and no direct strikes. The fleet shifted posture, maintaining readiness while resisting the instinct to annihilate. On Luna, Hale observed the mercenaries' adjustment. "They are thinking," Kessler noted. "Yes," Hale replied. "And that tells us everything we need to know." The mercenaries' rule, "Never fight humans twice," echoed in his mind. This was why. Humans were not the strongest. They were the most adaptive, the most efficient at turning chaos into opportunity. For the first time, he considered the possibility that this engagement might end not with his victory, but with irrelevance. Humans had not only survived, they had taught him a new lesson in strategic warfare. As the first phase of conflict closed, the mercenary leaned back in his ancient command vessel. His internal logs reflected a singular truth. Rule unchanged, just reinforced. Humanity had proven that survival alone was not enough. They had mastered adaptation. The galaxy would soon learn that the most feared mercenary in the universe had encountered a species he could not defeat in conventional terms. And in that realization lay the beginning of a story no one would forget.